There we go.
Good evening. I'd like to call to order the North Branford regular meeting for April 17th at 6:34 p.m. Let's please rise and join me in saluting the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next order of business, I'd like to introduce the members of the commission seated here tonight. To my left is Barry Ponder, our secretary. To his left, alternate member Paul Marino, alternate member of the commission. To his far left is Mary Caruso, an alternate member of the commission. To my right is Bill Gaudenzi, our vice chair. And to his right is Janet Crane, our recording secretary. Sit at the administrative table tonight is David Perkins, our town planner. Finally, my name is Robert Nowak. I'm the chairman for the commission seated here tonight. Next order of business is to consider the approval of some minutes from January 16th and April 3rd. I ask the commission members to take a moment to review the minutes. Let me know if you have any changes, corrections, if you haven't done so already. Changes, corrections, or modifications you'd like to make. And when you're ready, I'll entertain a motion at separate issues for January 16th and April 3rd. Let's see, January 16th, we have Bill and Barry, and no Ron at this point. So I think we're gonna table that one to the next meeting. So that leaves.
It's just Bill, me and Barry.
Yeah, you and Barry, I thought maybe.
Yep, got it.
We were going to.
Yeah, but
Can't approve because there's not enough here.
there's not enough people, correct. So that just leaves April 3rd. Whenever you're ready. Any commission member would like to make a motion to approve minutes for April 3rd?
I'll make a motion to approve the April 3rd minutes.
Okay, we have a motion by Bill, second by Paul. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Let's see, we have everybody except Ron. So we have Mary, Bill, myself. So Ron and Chris aren't here, so that means, so let me rephrase that. So all abstain, that would leave Mary and Barry. Abstain. Okay.
I thought you said
Did you
Mary
get
was
that?
here.
No, Mary's.
Mary was
Mary was here.
Here.
Mary was here, right. It was Barry and Paul.
Paul.
that abstained. Right, so,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So Barry and Paul
Barry and
abstain.
Paul.
Abstain.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so motion carries, so moving on. Next item on the agenda, we have the public hearing. There's nothing, old business. We have a new business and application for application 2025-3, 32 Curro Road, I-2 zone. And this particular meeting, we're implementing something new, where we're gonna accept accept the application today. You guys gonna take it home, we'll discuss it. Good. Am I on track so far?
Yeah.
Okay. Gonna look it over because the applicant isn't here to discuss his plan with us, so we decided to give it to us first, accept it, let's review it, chew on it, digest it, come back with questions for the applicant when he's present with us. He'll walk through it, and we'll be more prepared to address any of our concerns with him instead of thinking about it later and then delaying him so he only has to appear in front of us, fewer times than most times.
Did he say what the building was for?
It is a fencing company,
There's nothing there now, is it raw land now?
correct.
So, are we looking at it now?
Yeah.
No, I didn't think so. Take it home, that's what I thought.
Take him home.
And it's like,
Now, there is a-
because it's not
there is-
efficient to try to have a conversation, then later he's gonna tell us what it is. Yeah,
No, explain it to us.
yeah.
Right, there is a statement of use
In the package.
in the package. It's not in the application, but it's on the plan.
Oh,
It's on like page 3 of the plan.
Okay.
is that acceptable?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, that's good to know. I'd be looking for it.
So one of the items, last month, we went to the Connecticut Land Use Law class for 8 hours, put on by the Connecticut Bar Association.
Nice day today, a nice
It was
day
a
as
nice
well.
day, but in that,
Very nice day.
right, and we sat in there, right? So, but what I did was I took the booklet they gave us and I created a cheat sheet for us as commissioners to take home and look at it to understand exactly what a site plan is. I pulled out 9 bullets basically out of that, I don't know, half-inch section. So when we're looking at a site plan, we want to consider a couple things. And I'm going to more or less paraphrasing and read verbatim what I pulled, extracted out of the book. I put page numbers so you for future reference for those who did attend. The first one, what is a site plan? Physical plan that shows layout, design of the proposed use on the site, together with information with regulations required for that use. The site plan used to review to conformity with regulations. A site plan application by itself is already permitted as a right in a particular area, so as long as it meets standard requirements by the regulations. Site application cannot be made by P&Z until we receive a final report from the Inland Wetlands Agency as applicable. A public hearing is not required for site plan application. Holding a public hearing is solely at the discretion of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Site plan is automatically approved by the Planning and Zoning if we fail to act within 65 days. So the site plan, because it's already an approved use, we don't have to act on it, it'll be approved already.
Unless we get an extension, right? We can ask for an extension, I think,
You
right?
get extensions.
We
can get extensions,
Yeah.
But
Approved.
if you don't get an extension, yeah.
And that clock starts ticking today.
Today, 'cause it is.
The application that
Yeah.
we have, it's the date of the next scheduled meeting after submission to my office, or 30 days, if there is no regularly scheduled meeting.
Right. And our logic behind that was to, let's take this 65 days and use it
Right.
to our benefit instead of going back and forth. Approval of site plan shall be presumed unless a decision to deny or modify is rendered within 65 days. Site plan cannot be denied based upon off-site traffic conditions and inconvenient location of parking. Valid grounds for modification, they cannot serve as grounds for disapproval based on, it's a site plan. P&Z acts at administrative capacity when reviewing a site plan, and its discretion is limited to determining if the proposed site plan complies with the applicable regulations. That kind of summarizes it. It's in there's page numbers on there for you to go back and look for that. So I thought it was appropriate that I'd summarize and kind of give us the gist of what a site plan, what our roles and responsibilities for our site plan are. With that being said.
There's a lot of good stuff in that.
There's
in
a
that course.
tremendous,
Yeah, I mean, that was a lot
lot
of good stuff.
I think that the Connecticut Bar Association, every 2 years, we have to have this class. And in that class, they're bringing in new determinations that case law has resolved for our benefit, so we use it as a commission, and we reap the benefit from the the bar association in sharing with us, so we're more educated and we know what we're doing when we sit up here, regardless of what other people
There's like
think.
800 people, they said, like 780 people
Yeah.
online.
Though I don't think it was that many 2 years ago.
Yeah, probably not. There was several hundred, but I don't know if
Right.
it was 780, yeah. That was a lot.
The word got out, and that was well done.
That's why I see it,
That's for sure.
because they probably could never put that many at Wesleyan or wherever they used to have it anyway.
Right,
So it's
the
better-
Wesleyan always sold out
Yeah.
within hours.
Yeah, so that's why, that's a good way to do it virtually then.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next item on the agenda is Schedule A discussion. There's a bunch of stuff that was handed out today to the members from Dave regarding different parts. Where do you think you want to start, Dave? With the new stuff, you want to start at uses, or go walk through the Schedule A as a whole?
What is this?
I think maybe the yellow highlighted sections of
Sure.
Schedule A.
Okay.
Be a good place to start. Or else we can start with the uses that are allowed in one zone and not in the other. This is sort of a interesting piece of paper when you look at the industrial zone. Because I-1 is the quarry, and I-2 is the industrial zone, and I-3 was supposed to be sort of like office parks and stuff, but there's not many things in the I-2 zone that aren't allowed in the I-3 zone, or vice versa. And the I-3 zone is pretty small. It's down by the Foxen Road by East Haven,
Okay.
on the north side of the road. And it's also down by the age-restricted housing on Branford Road, what's it called?
Fowler Road?
What?
Fowler Road?
No, way
Oh.
to the south, the old folks' home, the
Oh, Evergreen.
Evergreen Woods.
Oh,
There's a
Evergreen
couple
Woods.
of lots behind it
Oh, wow.
that have not been developed that are I-3. And the I-3 is really restricted. You can see there are a whole lot of X's. on the-
What's office park, like the industrial park of, like Branford has those industrial parks?
Yeah, I think it's more like that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
I think that was the concept,
Yeah.
but it's never been developed
Yeah.
that way.
yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, out of all the uses for, these are the common ones is that the gist of it for what we have in front of us, Dave?
Yeah. So like hotels and motels are allowed in the I-3 zone, but not the I-2 zone. And the commercial recreational center, which we have in the I-3 zone, is by special permit, but wouldn't be allowed in the I-2 zone.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not quite sure why we have two uses.
Yeah.
Right.
Been at least 20 years we had it. I can tell you that. It existed when I joined, so it's been here for 20 years. No idea why.
So I think, I mean, the business zones on the lower part of the sheet are much clearer because you don't want that intense uses in Northford Center or Branford Center. So keeping those two zones separate, I think, is important.
Makes sense. Okay.
So what are you proposing? You're proposing getting rid of I-3 and just combine it and then, right? That's what you
Right.
said, yeah.
And combine them with the I-2. I mean, I think our
I-2,
next
right.
study is going to be to look at the bulk requirements, the setbacks and the square footage and all that sort of stuff. Because there's also a B3 zone,
Yeah.
of which there are two parcels in town that meet the B3 zone, but their setback requirements are much less stringent than the B1 and the B2 zone. And the POCD actually says we should combine them all
Yeah.
into one zone and follow the B3
Oh,
for the setbacks. In the B3 setback, for instance, the building is 30 feet back from the street line. The B1 and the B2 is 50 feet back.
50. Oh, yeah, okay, from the street.
That's why there's B3, because it had, for the most part, basically, more or
There
less.
probably was a building there that met the 30-foot setback, so that's what they came up with.
Yeah, it was at the medical building in the triangle,
The ACES building.
the Aces building, and possibly the one where Starbucks was
Right,
going.
because that was a B3, right?
That was the
Yeah.
B3 triangle, right?
Hmm.
We were considering changing that offset anyway in the business zone, were we
Correct.
not? To make it more street-friendly and parking in the rear,
Yep.
right?
So we could just skip over that. That's part of the big picture, right?
Yep.
Yep.
So the first one on this page with the yellow highlight is the letting of rooms and or furnishings of board, which all zoning regulations basically allow that, because boarding houses were always something that were done sort of as of right from the 1800s until now, so everybody sort of let them in as permitted uses. But basically, a boarding house is more of a bed and breakfast today.
Yeah.
I always wondered what that meant. Letting of rooms, I'm like, okay.
Well, they can't have cooking facilities,
Okay.
and you just sort of have boarders in the house, and you can't have more than, I think it's 3. I gave you the
3.
detail.
Says 3, yeah. Yep.
So whether that should be a permitted use as of right, or whether that should need a site plan, or it should need a special use permit, or do you think that just the PA, the PA is permitted as of right based on the section that's called out in the use, so it's based on 44.4?
Were we gonna change the language at all for letting of rooms or anything like that? Kind of leave it alone? Or is it necessary to have that language like that? I mean, we checking up on renters, or Bill's renting a room to me and it's a private transaction? I don't know.
It can't even be like, well, you can't have appliances or anything like that, right? It's,
Right,
like you said, it's a bed and breakfast. It's a room.
it's a row.
It's a room and, yeah.
And it's
You
sort of
have access
covered,
to a bathroom, but that you don't have kitchens and things like that.
right.
Right.
You could have a private bath or a
Yeah.
common bath, or, I mean, it sort of comes into your Airbnb situations
I was
as
thinking that
well.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hostas, right?
Hostels,
Hostels?
they'd all sort of fit into that
It's not
category,
called-
which
it's not
I
called
think
hostels,
is
no.
sort of permitted as of right, right? I mean, people have been doing that for hundreds of years. It'd be hard to take that away,
Yeah, nor would we want to.
nor would we want to.
So is your suggestion, Bill, Dave, to add that as a description to A-5 or add it into 44.4?
In both places, I would add the word bed and breakfast.
What would they have to do to open their house up to be a bed and breakfast?
Get a zoning permit.
Zoning permit, yeah. But it would be as of right anyway, so we couldn't, they would just get a permit from you, right?
Right,
Right? So we knew what was going on
right, and I just make sure that, you know, the parking's all right.
there.
and-
Mhm.
So then we know what's going on. If people come and complain, we have a record of that they applied for it.
That's the only thing in my head, but it's not really for this commission. I mean, if it's going to be as of right, it's just, you hear these horror stories when someone opens up their house and they don't live in the area, and then, you got college kids all summer renting it every weekend.
Right, well, this
Your quiet
requires,
neighborhood becomes a party street,
this requires the owner to be on premises.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, because
But that doesn't mean you can't rent your house for a day or a week or a
Yeah,
month or a year, or, I mean, there is a court case that's
Yeah.
currently rocking around the state that's questioning what that is.
Yeah, okay.
okay.
So how do we fall on this language?
Well, you
Do
have
we
a
change
single,
it?
you have a single-family house that you're renting out to people who are not a single family. So now it's not a single-family dwelling anymore, now it's something else.
Hmm.
And a dwelling unit is a unit where you dwell. And how long do you have to live there to actually be a dwelling unit? Maybe you actually dwell in Virginia most of the time, but you come up to North Branford and dwell in a house for like 3 days. Can you do that? Where's your primary dwelling unit? Those are the issues in front of the court.
Wow.
Let them figure that out.
Okay.
Where do we land on the language, though? We just going to keep the language? I don't remember now.
Yeah, I think
Or
the
add-
language, I
should
think
we-
the language is fine. I think we just add bed and breakfast.
Yeah, add a bed and
so
breakfast
People can
stuff.
look at it
Yeah.
and say, ooh,
Yep, got it. Okay, makes sense. All right.
Is it any different than a motel, hotel?
Yeah.
In usage, right? Because you're obviously a hotel, motel, you don't have the cooking facilities, you just have a room and a bathroom,
right.
right? And there's a different connotation between a hotel, motel and a bed and breakfast,
Yes.
right?
It's a different zone, too.
Yes,
Obviously.
absolutely.
This is residential, yeah.
And that's where I suggested we add a definition of a hotel. So in Branford, a bed and breakfast is an owner-occupied dwelling unit that contains no more than 4 guest rooms where lodging with or without meals is provided for compensation. So that matches up pretty well with our bed and breakfast. A hotel is a building in which transient lodging is provided for compensation with or without meals. The term is intended to include facilities commonly known as motels, but it does not include bed and breakfast. So the bed and breakfast, the owner has to live there and manage it. A motel is just a commercial occupation without the owner running it.
Got it.
I think offering the definition helps.
Yeah. The next one we have is the farm brewery, which is only allowed in residential zones. Whether that's appropriate or not, I think when it was applied for, that's where R1 Brewery was, so that's what they did. I mean, we could just leave that alone. If somebody wants to come and petition us to change it, we can.
Yeah, I mean, that, obviously, everyone probably knows that's exactly how it happened, right?
Yeah.
It was a text amendment by someone that wanted to do it, and they happen to want to do it on a residential zone. So,
And the farm outdoor events is pretty much the same thing. It's only allowed in the I3 zone. So if we eliminate the I3 zone, it would be allowed, I mean, it's only allowed in the I2 zone.
I2 zone, yeah.
And again, I know over the years, there's been efforts to change that, and we'll just leave that alone.
Yeah.
Well, it's tied with outdoor events, so I think that was the biggest, my understanding was the biggest thing was farm outdoor / outdoor events, right? Well, were you here, Bill, for that,
Yeah.
when that all came about?
Yeah.
I know there's a big brouhaha about outdoor events and farms and stuff like that, and I thought there was some restrictions about how far and where it could be, right? And
Well,
that's probably why it landed in
Well,
I2.
quite frankly, it was, again, the same situation. It was one petitioner that wanted to do it, that had it, they were in the I2 zone. So they came, hired someone, did a text amendment.
Okay.
And it happened to apply to 2 locations, but it's Van Wilgen's and Rose's Orchards.
Right.
Yeah. But Van Wilgen was a petitioner, because they wanted to do weddings on their farm.
Gotcha.
So they're in the
Okay.
I2 zone, yeah.
Okay.
That's how it happened.
So leave sleeping dogs lie on that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm not quite sure on the B1 and the B2, why we allow by site plan all sorts of things for the town of North Branford, but we don't let them for the state of Connecticut or the federal government.
Where is this?
Second page,
It's the
B,
Oh, the second page, I'm sorry.
B2.
Yeah, got it, yep.
I mean, I would think B1 and B2 would be the same.
Has there ever been, in your experience, Bill, that ever come in front of us before?
For federal estate buildings?
Yeah.
No. But I see your, I mean, the logic, I wouldn't, it's a government building, right?
Right.
Local, state, federal. Should be the same, right? What, I mean, what's the difference?
So the state's buying a piece of property in any of the zones, right? Am
B-
I-
B-
Hypothetically.
B zone, right? I think we're saying B zone?
Well, it's B through
Yeah.
I, right?
Yeah, B through, but I don't-
Then we're talking about making it B1 and B2 together? Or changing the usage for the state to have all site plan review?
Oh, they're in R.
Well, I mean, say they want to come in with a post office.
Okay.
I mean, is that a retail use, or is that a state of Connecticut, I mean, a federal use? What is a federal use versus
Yeah.
you know, they came in with the center down where, in Branford, the Marine Center on Route 1?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Where
National
the-
Guard. or
Yeah,
whatever.
where the
Other-
art-
yeah, whatever.
The arts place used to be?
Yeah. Bittersweet, yeah.
Bittersweet, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That would be federal, not retail.
Yeah.
What do other towns have, you know?
I have no idea.
I've never, I don't think I've ever talked about this one in 20 years.
Probably why.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we can let that one lie. How about churches, the next one, B3, churches, places of worship, parish halls, philanthropic and charitable institutions. So I have a person in front of me who wants to run a cat adoption center out of a B2 zone
B2.
in North Branford. And they are a 501c3. So does that mean they automatically fall into this? Because they're philanthropic charitable? Or does philanthropic and charitable mean something like Red Cross?
I don't think we defined it, right?
I don't think we define it anywhere.
No, so,
Was that mental health place, was that a 501c?
I think they're I don't think
The,
so.
the other one was for profit, but I
Right.
think the mental health
The
behavioral
PH
one
cares.
It's
was,
both. It's
I think it was
both.
501c.
Could be.
The pharmacy was for profit. Because you
Well,
asked
yeah,
that.
pharmacy's gotta be.
Pharmacy is for profit, but I think the other
All
one
of
was,
it,
so,
yeah.
I think, so I'm thinking, to that point, like the cat adoption is pretty benign. But if it's just 501Cs, there could be other things, right, bigger, more impactful uses.
I mean, I just think those words are like,
Philanthropic,
yeah,
yeah, no, I agree. Yeah,
Add that to our definition quest or change the language?
change the language.
I think I'd just get rid of it.
Yeah, I agree that
Yeah.
it's a bad term. It's a bad term for a zoning rule.
For philanthropic, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
To
for
eliminate that
this
word, yeah.
use, it's not a bad word in general. It's just,
Yeah,
No, I agree with you. It's almost like nonprofit, right? Is that philanthropic,
Yeah.
nonprofit? So,
yeah. Charitable.
I mean, the other ones are all pretty clear as to
Yeah.
what they are.
yeah.
And would you allow those in the industrial zones and the residential zones? Again, I know they have like lots of small churches in leftover industrial buildings that aren't being used, and they have a big space, they can get people in there. And they can operate on Sundays when the other businesses are shut, and they can use the parking. And I've seen that happen in many places.
Under special permit
Yeah,
on industrial?
and residential zone as well. So,
that could be like an Elks Club though.
yeah,
Which could be a lot different from, that could be more impactful. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but right? Could
right, but
have
a wildlife
lot of-
sanctuary and,
But like what is it called? Membership lodges. Could be,
Right, Masons, Elks.
Could be
Membership.
any,
big halls and catering events and
right,
lots of parking and people and, right?
yeah.
So it's in a residential zone.
I'm okay industrial, I'm not really swaying towards residential myself, like Gary.
I mean, some of them are benign, but some of them could be impactful, right?
Correct.
So we could put them in the industrial zone by you?
And then, what, special use
Yeah.
others? Yeah. That makes sense.
It's kind of counter to the wildlife sanctuary under the description.
Yeah, yeah.
And recreational facilities, right?
Well, that seems like an odd thing, because we have recreational facilities under golf clubs and sporting clubs and
Yeah.
everything else, right?
Mm.
Recreational facility would be not part of churches and lodges.
No, agreed.
It's interesting that our old one was for-profit. 3.1.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, then we scabbed it to the B3 and brought up the natural preserves, wildlife, and recreational facilities. So they made a distinction of for-profit all across the zones except industrial. Not-for-profit was, I think, where B3 was kind of leaning, and they only isolated it to B zones. Interesting.
Hmm.
Right, so it was, if it's not for profit, it was allowed in the residential zones by special permit.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean,
Will that impact anybody now? There's a broad category of different things. I have no idea. Profit versus nonprofit, right? That's the difference between the two.
Right. And then we're never allowed in either case in the industrial zone. But they were in the residential zone by special permit.
Special permit.
Well, kind of goes against what we were just saying, though.
Yeah.
I mean, we have schools in residential zones.
Yeah.
That's an obvious place for a school. Churches. I think the Episcopal Church over on Notch Hill, that may very well be a residential zone.
Was it Zion Church? Not
Yeah.
sure.
Make it a special permit then, right?
I would think you'd want to do that, yeah.
Okay.
Did we kill that enough?
Done?
I
How
think
about,
so.
Museums?
yeah, museums? I just
Oh,
put them in the residential zones and the business zones by special permit. At least we're allowing them now.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
You were that,
What?
there was some controversial thing on Opening Hill Road in Madison. That wasn't a museum, was it? You were that one?
Yeah.
They were trying to convert their house into like a museum, sort of, wasn't it? It was very controversial, wasn't it?
Right, because
Think
of
they
the
were
amount
doing-
of traffic
Yeah,
and
traffic.
everything else.
But that's special use, so it's covered. We have discretion and
Right.
we can evaluate the situation, traffic, and we have discretion. Yeah, okay. Got it.
The next one I had was the indoor theaters and assembly halls in the industrial zone. Is that a good place for them?
What is an auditorium considered
An indoor theater.
in a residential zone? Because isn't the school in a residential zone?
Well, that's accessory to the school.
Yeah.
Just saying, okay?
I'm thinking of like
Question?
Long Wharf,
Yeah.
Long Wharf Theater.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
That was in the,
And Kate, all these things, yeah. Yep.
again, you have big spaces in those areas that could be conductive for weekend activities.
Yeah, for sure.
Do we want to consider the museums in industrial zones as well? Maybe took on, let's put a brand new museum up in the quarry,
I don't see why not.
Yeah.
That's right.
right?
Were you putting one?
In Tokon?
Oh, Tokon, yeah. It's already a museum.
Exactly. It's a living museum.
Just gotta start, just charge admission. We're done.
Yep.
So your commercial processing facility is only allowed by special permit in the I3 zone. That's a recycling process. So I think the I3 zone also is down on Middletown Avenue where Pizzuto is.
Yep.
Okay.
So it's restricting it to that specific area.
Commercial recreational facility?
I'm sorry,
Recreational.
I thought it was processing. My glasses aren't on.
In the same-
Recreational facility is
The dome,
the dome, yeah.
yeah,
The Sportsplex,
sportsplex.
which again was shoehorned in because that was the zone
It was them.
where they wanted it to be.
Yeah.
And why wouldn't you want to have that in any of your other industrial zones?
Yeah.
So if we eliminated the I-3, we would make it allowed in the I-2 by special use.
Yep.
Gonna leave that one for now, Dave. Like our original discussion we had on the previous one.
Sure.
Domestic animal daycare.
Right. So this comes down to my question of the cat facility. Is that a domestic animal daycare center? I think it is,
The adoption one,
yeah.
it cares for them until they're adopted? Yeah, I would think.
There's gotta be a restriction on the number of, right? You can't have someone with 100 cats.
Well, it's going to be overseen by, you need a license from the state, you need a license from East Shore. There are all sorts of regulations that are going to limit
That's
the
coming-
amount of activity going on without us telling them what to do.
That would come before us, that application, someone kept moving forward with it?
It would come as a site plan application, yes. And the Branford,
I think that one will fall, domestic animal daycare center, that application that you said that was before you, that would probably fall under like boarding. He boards them until he gets the adoption. You're talking about the applicant you have before you, wanting to be at a business, B2?
right,
I think it would fall under like a commercial, like a boarding, like that, A7, like boarding, because he's gonna board these cats until they're adopted. He's not gonna, watch them during the day and then take them home with him. He's gonna keep them there, right?
for,
You're talking about the applicant you have. He's
Right.
gonna keep these cats there until they're adopted.
yeah, a period of time.
Yeah, so that's more of a boarding. He's boarding the cats.
Foster.
Yeah, it's like a foster home until they
Right,
find a
wouldn't an
permanent.
animal daycare be like when you bring your dog? to the
Right,
day?
I'm gonna go to work and my dog
Well,
rips up my
But we've
house.
had, we've
I'm
had
gonna drop him off at
applications
daycare.
for doggy daycares where it's overnight, it's for the weekend.
Right, we got the
Yeah,
one up
Or
on,
was it,
like,
I don't know, how do we do that? I don't know where it went.
We approved it.
But was it under boarding, to Barry's point, or was it
The
daycare?
Animal Daycare Center says that you are taking care of animals for a portion of 24 hours of the day.
Right,
Yeah, okay, so
So
it's
it
not.
could be overnight. It implies that it's operating 24 hours a day.
Yeah, right. So drop it off at 7, pick it up at 7.
right. That means he would have to take these cats home with him, like in a van or something. He can't leave them in that building if it's gonna be a daycare. That means he's gonna have to take these
Yeah.
cats home back to his house, or, I don't know who it is.
But-
If it's gonna operate as a daycare center and not an adoption center, adoption is more of a boarding. He has to board these cats at the facility he's gonna be at, care for them, and
Until they get adopted.
until they get adopted. And he's gonna have to have rooms set up to show these cats having fun, playing. The people, they're not gonna be in cages,
Isn't there an
What-
adoption center on 80 near Pet Shield?
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So what are they under?
No, I don't know that.
I think there is.
That's some,
What is the
It's all
do we have it
cats.
defined?
It's just cats,
Yeah.
Mary?
You read it already, right?
Yeah.
So how does the one where
I thought I
I
brought
have
it.
my dog and I'm going away for a week and the kennel would be boring, right?
Correct.
yeah, that's,
Okay.
yeah.
So then so
I don't think you should have that in a residential neighborhood.
No.
No, this would be on, in the strip mall across from the library on Route 80. There's an open space there.
Okay.
That would be where they want to do it.
I want it
Would it keep pancakes and stuff?
there. I live
Well, they
across
have,
the
I mean, they're
Yeah, that's
looking,
right, you live
street.
across the
I
street.
live across the street. No,
But to Barry's point, yeah,
Yeah, I think it would fall under the A7 then,
Yeah.
the commercial kennel then.
I think it's a very valuable, people need to find homes for cats. I think the one on 80, unless it's gone, is very reputable. It's been in business, I wish I could remember the name of
I
it.
don't want
It's an
Right near
adoption?
Pet Shield.
it's an adoption center?
Yeah.
Ah.
so I was going to tell them to apply under our charitable and philanthropic loophole.
What does A7 fall under? No, okay.
Well, it
Yeah,
doesn't-
so it would have to be charitable.
Is it, a-
It's not a commercial brand.
is
He's not a
that,
commercial brand, right? He's a charitable foundation, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they're called A Chance for Love Rescue, an all-volunteer 501c3 cat rescue organization whose mission is to rescue abandoned. We have been established, growing need has been brought to us, that we need a brick and mortar store. The unit located at 1715 Foxen Road is the perfect location for us to work. Our intention would entail the anticipated housing of 8 to 10 cats, with volunteers coming in shifts to provide care to them. With the continuous shifts, there would be no concern for odor with proper sanitation. All the cats would be current on their rabies. We work with all the single kitties cat cafe in Old Saybrook, where the majority of our adoptable cats are placed for adoption once they've completed all necessary veterinary care. So I think they sort of primed them here
Okay.
and then moved them over there, and
How's the one next to Capone's? Is it open and running and quiet?
that's good. The Possum Pets, yeah,
is this a residential zone?
it's a business zone.
It is, okay. So they can use A7 though, right? The boarding? I know you're saying we're.
Yeah, but this is a B1 and a B2 zone. They're not allowed in
Oh,
B1 and
sorry,
B2.
B1, yes. That's right. So,
This is across from the library. right?
Yeah.
So were you looking for the definition of the daycare center, Dave?
Did you find it?
Program of supplementary care for and/or training of domesticated animals outside of their own homes on a regular basis for a part of the 24 hours in one or more days in a week.
That's pretty much it?
That pretty much sums it up. but-
Yeah. And I think the Branford regulations that I looked at have the domestic animal daycare center / animal rescue.
Oh,
And they have pretty much the same verbiage as we do, but they just add animal rescue.
yeah.
Under which one?
domestic daycare.
Under the daycare one.
So we would make like a C4.2? Or no, just add it under C-4.1, just under our definitions.
Or just
Okay,
add
yeah.
/ animal rescue.
Yeah, and then add that / animal rescue.
And keep it in the zones it's already in, right? That was the next part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, B1, B.
That won't help them immediately, but
Well, I mean,
long-term it will.
if we're, I mean, we can determine what the
Oh, okay.
regulation says as of right now. I mean, if
Okay.
we think that the animal rescue is
Mhm.
similar
Okay.
and akin to that, and you give me that
Got it, okay.
recommendation, I'll be more than happy to have them come before us with a site plan.
I'm good with it.
Yeah, I'm
I
okay.
don't know if, do we need a motion or anything?
No, I think it's just,
Yeah, just give it-
it's an
we just discuss it.
interpretation of the regulation that I wanted to
Okay,
discuss with
interpretation,
you
yeah.
guys,
Yep.
rather than just
Yep,
making it on my own. Then you'd be surprised when they came to us and you're like,
Yep.
what? You can't do that.
got it.
We added that category in 2009. C5.
So I, in terms of the restaurant use, I looked at Branford's, and they have, they allow all restaurants in the industrial zones based on special exception. They basically allow restaurants pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
They don't allow fast food restaurants or drive-through restaurants in the business center district, which is downtown, around the green and stuff. But they allow them in every other zone. Except for their highly dense business zones.
Okay.
So I don't know if we want to, when we eliminated these stubs on C5, and basically, we're going to put every restaurant under 5, whether it's a takeout, fast food, or drive-through, and allow them in our business zones by special permit as well as in our industrial zones by special permit. Or do we want to restrict them and not do that because our industrial zone is not that big? In Branford's, it's bigger and more expansive.
Yeah,
So you want to just leave that one alone and combine them together? And if anybody wants to come and put one in an industrial zone, they'd have to petition us to change the table.
I think so. Only because what you just mentioned, because that was a comment we made last time too.
Right.
Because I think our POCD says, you know, we only have, you said it already, we only have so much industrial zone. If we start throwing everything else in it, we lose our ability to attract any kind of industrial player, which could bring good taxes, you know. Business does too, but you get a Honeywell or something, you know?
And should a restaurant in a business zone be required to come before us to get a special permit? Or can they just do it by site plan?
I'd say special permit. Absolutely.
So we can control parking
Yeah.
and
Traffic.
traffic?
Yep.
So we're not really we're keeping it just the way it is, the U.
Correct.
Right,
Yeah.
special permit. And then relative to the industrial zone, right, we're talking about bringing industry into North Branford. Whether it's an industry or a restaurant, the size of the building dictates its tax revenue, right? Because it's a footprint, regardless of what's being sold or manufactured, it's the size of the building is the the footprint that generates the income.
Correct.
Yeah, but industrial can't go in business. If we allow business in industrial, then business can go into 4 zones where industrial can only go in 2. So we're restricting industrial
Right.
and
Agreed.
allowing business. That's,
You're right, Bill.
And from a tax point of view, you have personal property tax, so if it's
Right.
manufacturing, you're gonna be taxing that expensive equipment.
I think it's just, we only have so finite industrial zones in this town. So we should try to encourage industrial uses. I
Okay.
think it's in our POCD.
And we're still limiting 5.1, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And then I was gonna add a line in here for the bed and breakfast
Mhm.
and allow them in the B2 and the B1 zones, and I guess in the residential zones. We already sort of went through that earlier, right?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, we'll go back to what we said before.
Were we combining all those, Daves, for the alcohol, or were we eliminating those? What did we decide to do with those?
I haven't done it yet. I mean, basically, we're gonna allow them all, basically, in the B1 and the B2 zone, right? Or-
That was my assumption. I don't know about you guys of business, 1 and 2.
Yeah, B1, B2. For all of them? Cafe permit, tavern permit?
Yeah, we do a special permit for all of them in the B1 and the B2 zone.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that works.
So those were the ones that I highlighted. I don't know if anybody else had any that they found troubling or changeable or...
Nope.
I'm still waiting for the EDC to get back to us, but I don't expect a whole lot of...
So Dave, when we were talking about the restaurant item and B1, B2 zone, more or less is Northford and North Branford. Right, Northford Center's right unto itself. We also were working on that overlay
Correct.
that would also kind of dictate where that would overlay and also help gauge the restaurants and where it would go
Right.
and not go, based on the parameters we put together in the form-based zone.
Form-based, yeah.
Right? All right.
So I did see an interesting newspaper article about Westbrook, I believe, where your former town
Yeah.
planner,
Yeah.
Eric Knapp, is now.
Huh.
And they have a section of town that's strip malls opened up. It's very similar to what we have in Northford. And he's been working on it since he left here and went through a town planning group who came up with this solution, and the historic district and everybody else. And they got to a public hearing, and 450 people turned out and said don't change the cat regulations, don't change
anything. Sounds
don't
like-
change anything. So a lesson for us to keep the public involved all the
Yeah.
way along, so we're not, and these buildings were similar to ones that we're proposing, that they can be pretty big, and
Yeah.
they can have a lot of residential uses in them. And maybe it is, maybe we should, when we look at it specifically, we should tone it down some, so it's not huge.
There were some big political players in that group too, from the article from Westport.
Yeah,
It wasn't us. And it still got shot down. That was the conclusion from Monday, right? The
Yeah.
ninth, last Monday? Wow.
yeah, I mean, the mayor, everybody was for it,
Right.
except for the town people.
I'm going to leave
The
it just
people
the way
own
it
the
is.
town, don't they?
But,
The people own the town at the end of the day, not the mayor.
well, that's what
The
happened.
mayor's there for a little while, then he's up, or she's up, whatever. Just remember, radio killed the radio star.
What is, are we gonna just clean all this up and then go to
Down to farm town.
public hearing for
Yeah.
just this, or are we bundling other things?
Well, I think we can do that. We can do the other one was the drive-up
Oh, yeah.
window that is in your little
Yep.
package there as well.
that. To add that,
Yeah,
adding this, yeah.
which I just stole from Branford, and I think it's got some weird things in it. But
That was going to be in the language, right, Dave? Under restaurants, C5. If I remember correctly, we were talking about putting that not in the schedule.
we'd add a drive-up window regulation as a text amendment.
As a text amendment, okay.
So I think we have a few text amendments to add.
Yep.
We have the table of uses to add. We have the decision about combining zones.
Oh, yeah, right.
And if we want to talk about that at our next meeting, we can do that, but we should be looking at the bulk requirements, the setbacks and the sideline setbacks, and what we're going to pick and choose for the new I-2 zone.
Okay.
And whether we want to tweak that in the B1 and the B2 zones prior to doing any sort of form-based zoning changes, we could talk about that.
Okay.
And then we could put it all together and start thinking about a public hearing.
Yeah, okay. Other than the general announcement, like in the paper, do you have to, like, on the two I-3 zones, do we have to specifically notify them? And then do we have to notify any abutters to that? No,
Yeah.
for the proposed change, because it's not a, yeah, even though it may be absorbed. Right, I-3 would go away and become I-2. There's no specific requirement to notify the I-3s, or the B-3s.
I have to think about it.
Yeah, I don't know, I'm just curious.
Yeah. I mean, it's a map change.
Yeah.
So if it's a map change, we may need to notify a whole lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. True. Yep.
We're kind of far away from a public hearing in this. I think we
Yeah.
need to go,
We should go as slow as we want
Yeah.
and get more public participation, because the public there's a whole lot of public here at Center.
packed. Should come in and show up.
Well, you gotta talk about chickens again, they'll come up, they have a lot of,
Yeah, don't even go there.
yes.
Lost my thought.
So I can consolidate this stuff and come up with some, more formal verbiage.
Right, that's
Yeah.
fine, let's do that. You had, I believe you went in front of the Economic Development Commission,
Right.
and you presented your changes to them?
Correct.
This whole package? Okay. So I would continue the update and say, here you go. We're doing this, or anything specific. You know, we can identify, you can talk to them specific about certain things, might give them more focus.
Right. They have sort of a short meeting where they talk about this and that and the other thing, so,
That's the economic development people.
yeah.
What have they done this year? Anything productive?
Well, they had restaurant week.
Okay.
Went well, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well received.
Strawberry Festival's June 7th, Chicorelli Farm, 4 to
Not
10.
putting that together.
So
Oh,
then,
cool.
from my reading of their meeting minutes, they want to do more about the farm community as we are and have it at different farms
Yeah.
to promote what they have, their strawberries, pick your own, so on and so forth. Cool.
Dave, there was a time last year, they were gonna invite us to a meeting, planning and zoning. Did that ever happen?
No.
I think Rory said that he was gonna invite members here. That didn't happen?
We haven't had a combined meeting for a while.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yep.
I think we'd like to get their feedback, but they don't really have a lot of feedback. It's a matter of the chicken and the egg and who goes first. And
Yeah.
so I think the proposal to show them changes was something to get them interested and say, what else would you like to have in this table? Because remember, if it's not permitted, it's prohibited.
I know in my spare time, I do look at, zoning in like towns that are similar to North Branford, like Durham, Monroe, and see if there's anything in our language that could change that could maybe bring economic development to our town.
Right.
But, are they doing the same thing? Are they looking at similar towns, or are they just looking at Brantford? Because I think Brantford and North Brantford are two totally different towns. We're close to each other, but we're more similar to like a Durham or
Right.
even a Guilford than a Brantford. So, I don't know. I would love to see if they could invite us maybe at a meeting over the summer or something to see, because we are trying to make changes, and,
Well,
we
maybe
do
we
recognize our POCD is showing us that we should be making these changes, so.
So maybe
We'd
we
love to have
should,
their feedback.
right, we can invite them to our next meeting.
Yeah,
We just have the site plan, which should be quick, and
Or we have Roy come, because
Yeah.
he's the assistant town manager.
right.
And he's got dual hats. Maybe he could lend some insight to what he thought would work for the town. I don't know.
As long as it ain't-
On behalf of, I don't know.
it could even be next meeting or anytime,
Okay,
whenever he's available.
Okay.
We should, I don't know if this got lost or not, but maybe it's not for this round, but for like facade regulations. Like
so what,
facade regulations, so when a Dollar General comes in and they have 37 different plans, one is a rectangle all the way to something that almost looks like a barn, we could say, well,
Like a common
our regulations say you gotta be closer to the barn,
You got the A barn.
right, and we were able to do that with Starbucks to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Um,
But if we specifically have something, right, guidance, we have a little more leverage, right? You shall do
And
this,
the other thing
not-
we were talking about with the Economic Development Commission was that we have, our sign regulation allows a maximum of 32
Yeah.
square feet on the road. That's a monument sign. So with all our strip malls, you have a sheet of plywood that you have to put 10 stores' names on it. it doesn't work.
You get 3 feet.
So instead, we have sandwich boards all up and down the sidewalk
Yeah.
advertising.
What is
So-
our signage now and lighting and stuff? Where is that? It's in,
It's under signs.
right?
And again, I was looking at other towns, and they allow up to like 300 square feet of monument sign if it's set 10 feet back from the road. So now you got a 30-foot by 10-foot sign, which is probably too big.
Yeah, it's,
But I think I would like to propose something different to allow the store owners to at least direct things if they have the money and the will and the power to do it. Even the one in Northford Center, the red sign,
Yeah.
you know, that's got to be at least, what, 15 by 10 or something?
Yeah.
150 square feet? And that's pretty small.
Yeah.
The guy at the gas station, does he have to come in front of us for that? I guess they're changing the awning and the lighting and revamping the gas station.
He came, but he just came for, are you talking about the one in the middle?
The one at the point.
Yeah,
Yes,
he came to us before.
he's going to have to come back with
Yeah,
a
for the
new
restaurant.
design for the,
Yeah, so I guess they have all the new awning and the lighting and everything coming up. So before he puts it up, does he have to come before us?
yes.
He did come, but they haven't opened up that.
Restaurant thing.
Or what, I don't even think it's a
Takeout.
restaurant, I think it's a takeout.
Those businesses are small.
Yeah. He was doing something there, yeah, I was just there, and he has like wood out front.
Well, no, they stole his friggin' ATM.
Oh, is that what happened? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
He busted his front door and took his ATM.
Oh.
Yeah, no, he wants to rebrand the whole gas station and put up
Yeah, they're gonna call it a
bright
waste.
lights and this and that. And the other thing, I was like, before you apply, let me take a look at it. So,
Well, it's kind of
Yeah.
a dead issue.
Bright
there,
lights.
right? It's kind of a dark area. I mean, he should brighten it up and make it nice. Maybe they won't steal shit.
well, it's the amount of lights that are on the,
Canopy?
yeah.
Well, if they lessen the lights, they brighten them, or they put more lights and dimmer. There's gotta be.
Well, if he puts lights on the lot, so the people walking around are protected, that's
Yeah.
good. But it's the advertising lights on the canopy
The ones on the outside.
that everybody's gonna see driving by, that I don't think we really want that. It's not in the regulations, it's not allowed in the regulations.
Was there meters? How do we test that? How do you test that?
It's not allowed. It's just not allowed. He can do the Guilford Savings Bank kind of sign, backlit.
Right.
We're talking lighting, right? Or it's a down on the
Oh,
arm
but-
with a light on it.
The Guilford Savings Bank sign is a special kind of backlit sign that they're about to replace because they're merging
Oh.
and gonna have a new name on the bank shortly. So they're doing like for like, basic lighting. But to answer your question, you know, we get a lighting plan that shows the intensity of the light. And you read the plan and you can see how bright it is.
All right. It's got to fit into the Northford district zone. Right? So we have the site plan for your report, Dave. We've got the site plans to review next week with the applicant. We'll take another stab at Schedule A. And some of the other things, we're gonna do drive-through too, language for that.
We'll add bed and breakfast, we'll add the animal welfare unit, whatever it is, animal.
Okay.
The only thing I see about the queuing lane, Starbucks would already be here when we do the change, because their queuing lane is between
the main road and their building. It's kind of hard when you're on a corner lot. Like, you know how Starbucks is on a corner lot? It's gonna be hard to have the queuing lane must not be located between the building and the public street. It's gonna be difficult, like on a corner lot, like,
Yeah.
so maybe we could change the language, like corner lot. There could be a modification or something.
If it's on a, if it spills in a state road, the state has review too, don't they?
Yeah.
They're gonna have the requirements.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
you'd say unless it's a corner lot?
It's something, we'd have to put some kind of language, I'd have to, yeah, look at it, because, yeah, that's our, I think their queuing lane is gonna be on Branford Road,
Yeah.
not the,
You're right.
yeah, so, yeah, that's right.
But if they had it, I mean, a little bit of it's behind. but-
Some of it is in the parking lot, it's gonna be in the parking lot, and then when you order, really, it's like queuing all the way around. I mean,
Yeah,
but,
I mean, do we really care if it's in between?
No, I think what they
want.
want you to avoid is, say, if you're gonna pull off at 80, and you're gonna be in the queuing lane for Starbucks, then make a U-turn to come out, like, they don't want that, they don't want you to be pulling off the main road and be in the lane to get
Yeah.
your drink, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Anything else, Dave?
Nope.
You good? Commission members, anything for the good of the order? If not, last item on the agenda is adjournment. Our tradition is take a motion and second and then get out of here, but Ron's not here.
Yep.
I make a motion to adjourn then.
All right.
That's not
Motion second, motion second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Who's second?
Meeting's adjourned. That was Barry, Barry second, 7:50.